again? What are we
Yo,
doing?
can we do other homework in this English?
I don't give a fuck. Are we debunking climate change?
Really, we only had two slides until this morning.
Can we debunk climate change? It's not real.
By the way, freezing is coming for us.
Gentlemen! Bro, share the screen. What are you doing?
Wait, does it start 30 video?
It says at 30.
Oh, it starts? Alright, good afternoon everyone. My name is Fareed. I'm a senior here at Bell. Oh, spoiler. Yo, turn it off, bro. You're spoiling me. Wait, freeze it. Just unplug it.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Come on, buddy. Get a load of this guy.
Alright, good afternoon guys. I'm Fareed. I'm a senior here at Bell.
I'm Alex, I'm a senior here at Bell.
Kevin, also a senior.
I'm June, also a senior.
Okay, before we get started with the presentation, we're gonna do a quick little icebreaker. Alright, so I'm gonna have you guys go all around. You guys are gonna say your name, your grade, and also a conspiracy theory that you either genuinely believe in or are very interested in. So let's start off over here.
Well, I'll give him 1 second. While you're going around doing that, make sure you put your services away. Let's focus on the session. We put time into this. Right? Alright, thank you. Alright. Now that you have the moment to think.
You'll say climate
Okay, alright. Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Alright, let me just repeat it. So, your name, your grade, and one conspiracy theory that you're either very interested in or genuinely believe. It doesn't have to be environmental related. Alright, let's start off with Mr. Butler over here.
So I'm Mr. Butler. I'm a senior here.
Your first name, Mr. Butler.
Alright, I'm Gavin Butler. I'm a senior here. I'm with the Roof Ambassadors. A conspiracy theory that I genuinely believe in is FC did kill himself.
I've seen Dennis kill himself.
It's a controversial take, man.
It's a controversial story. Alright.
My name is Noah. I'm a sophomore, and just one conspiracy I've heard is that JFK was like killed by the government.
By the CIA, yeah, he was.
My name's Christo. I'm a sophomore, and a conspiracy theory that I kind of believe in is maybe like 9/11 was like an inside job.
Gentlemen,
Safe space.
I also believe in that.
I'm Marco, I'm a sophomore. I believe that like aliens are real.
okay, aliens are real.
Well, I'm Christian. I'm a junior, and I'm interested in the lizard people.
Yeah, they run a government.
Okay.
I'm Lucas. I'm a sophomore, and I also think aliens are real.
Alright, cool.
I'm Thorun, I'm a junior, and I think MLK was assassinated by the government.
I'm Leo, I'm a junior, and I believe birds are not real.
That's a classic, man.
Yeah.
That's the third time we've heard it today.
Really?
Yeah.
It's true.
I know it is true.
Exactly. See?
Alright.
We got another believer.
It's not conspiracy theory, it's fact.
My name's Ethan. I'm a junior, and I believe that none of us are real.
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's a fact.
We're on a simulation.
I'm Manav, I'm a junior, and I don't think headaches are real.
That what?
Headaches.
You're not elaborate on that, tell the class.
I think it's an excuse to get out of doing stuff.
Dude's never
Have you had a headache, bro?
No.
You've never had a headache before.
Oh, hey.
Have you had like a brain freeze?
You know, I've never had a headache before either.
Well, I'll give you guys one today, so.
Oh, very good.
Guaranteed.
You should be hosting. I'm a senior, and I think the Earth is a sphere.
Earth is a sphere.
That's very controversial.
I'm Alexander, I'm a sophomore, and I think that the CIA killed Kennedy.
I'm Paul. I'm a junior, and I think like the Diddy parties are.
That's a conspiracy. That's not a conspiracy. Yeah, I was like, redo it. Think of another one. Come back to you. Think of another one.
Yeah, I'm Joaquin, I'm a senior, and I I'm gonna say I think Trump's an alien.
Okay. Like, dude, why is he orange, right?
A little Western,
I'm Ashwin, I'm a sophomore. Probably one conspiracy theory I'm interested in is that Jewish people have control over all aspects
Nah. Talk to him, bro.
You.
I'm a director. Andrew, junior.
Why specifically Jewish?
I'm a senior, and I'm like interested in 9/11 was in 10 jobs as well.
Okay.
Funky, I'm a junior. I think I would control 11.
Okay. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
I'm Ansel. I'm a senior, and I also think I was inside jobs.
Alright, cool. Paul, we're coming back to you. You gave us fact, but not conspiracy.
I think like rich people like have like inappropriate parties.
That's still a fact. Be original. Alright, we're coming back to you after the first slide.
Let's go here. Do you have anything?
I'll go with that MLK was assassinated by the government.
Bro, you're
I'm
on
mischaracterized
camera.
when
You're
it
on
comes to
camera.
Gentlemen.
Alright, okay, you guys, introducing yourself. We're gonna
Alright, well, first of all, deepest condolences to us. We are losing a team member today, Mr. David Kolev. He is tragically out sick with a 102.5 fever. What an integral part of our group he is missing. So I will be presenting his parts. I will be reading it. It'll be a little boring, but you know, you guys gotta like be attentive and stuff, you know, because I know period after lunch, you guys want to go to sleep, but
He's in a better place now.
is it a better place? Well, seems to be a lot of underclassmen in here, so we got some Subway Surfers to keep your brains occupied. 'Cause I know you guys like need that constant brain stimulation. Hey, it's okay. I've been there too, but once you're a senior, you'll understand that you don't need it. So this is David's slide. Now, all right. Jokes aside, why do people believe in conspiracy theories? Well, people believe in conspiracy theories, especially about climate change, because it gives them a sense of psychological comfort. Now, climate change is a very big issue that not any of us single-handedly can tackle. So it can seem very scary to some people. So what some certain individuals do is that they turn to conspiracy theories as a way to comfort themselves, because it's a coping mechanism, it's not true, and they know it's not true, but they kind of deny it. I can see you guys are absolutely hooked on that right now. So also, politics can also have an effect on people's beliefs in conspiracy theories. So certain political ideologies cause people to dismiss climate change as a boof. And then it's just like it's just such a deep-rooted pre-existing belief that people just can't really change them. And then another way in which people are duped into believing conspiracy theories is a spread of misinformation and cherry-picked data on the internet. Now, what is cherry-picking data? So sometimes papers are published, but they're only published by one person or one organization. And the issue with this is there tends to be a lot of bias, because without other people fact-checking it or running it through again, that one party tends to only publish the information that they believe is true, and they leave out the information that disproves them. So a lot of this data is extremely biased and inaccurate, and it doesn't represent what they're actually studying. So it's necessary that if you're looking through a research paper, make sure you look at who wrote it, who published it, just to be extra sure. And one example of cherry-picked data is this graph right over here. So on the screen, you can see a graph that depicts global average temperature change. So the blue lines show short periods of time that disguise, short periods of time where temperature decreases to disguise the longer actual warming trends as seen in the red lines. This is an example of cherry-picked data. Now, let's talk about the psychology of people who believe in conspiracy theories, right? That's crazy. They think a little differently than we do. So a study from the National Institute of Health shows that people who believe governments are responsible for criminal acts towards their own citizens are more likely to be skeptics of climate change because they do not trust the government. Furthermore, people who are open to new experiences and ideas tend to believe that climate change is caused by humans. So in summary, people believe in conspiracy theories about climate change because of 3 reasons. First of all, politics. Second of all, cherry-picked data which misleads people. And third of all, the fear of climate change itself. We've got something else for you guys.
Alright, so these are 4 main themes that conspiracy theories follow. So the first theme is that scientists are faking climate change for political reasons. So some argue that climate change is a tool used by governments or political groups to justify regulations or tax or the increased government control over industries and individuals. And you guys might have heard these claims, but there's a lot of claims that left-leaning politicians will push climate policies in order to gain votes or suppress economic freedom. And then also these climate policies are often aligned with progressive or internationalist agendas like the UN. And so people that are wary of those global governance will typically use this as an excuse. And so how are we going to debunk this theme? So there's a scientific consensus between 97% of climate scientists that agree that human activity is causing global warming. And then there's also cross-political research from diverse institutions, organizations across the world, and it's not just from the United States. And there's also historical records that climate science has been studied for over a century, and it's not just between our modern political debates. Our second theme is scientists are faking climate change to secure research funding. So the idea is that climate scientists exaggerate threats in order to secure government grants and funding. And there's also another claim that scientists who oppose mainstream climate narratives are silenced or denied funding. So how are we going to debunk this theme? Funding is not tied to results. Scientists are expected to follow evidence and not manufacture it. And research grants are based on hypothesis, not based on predetermined conclusions. Also, scientific studies are usually have gone under peer review processes where it's really hard for scientists to fabricate or fake the results. And then also climate research is funded by multiple sources, not just the government. It's funded by private institutions and international organizations, which reduce bias from just one single entity. And also a little bit of contradiction is that if money was the main motive for these scientists, they would typically work for fossil fuel companies, which have significantly larger financial resources. So our third theme is that scientists are faking climate change to enable the green agenda. And so some believe climate change is an excuse to push green energy policies, like industries for solar, for wind, and for electric vehicles. And the phrase green agenda is used to suggest that governments and corporations are, colluding to profit from renewable energy while forcing people to abandon fossil fuels. And so how are we going to debunk this? Climate science and policy are completely separate. The evidence for climate change exists independent of any policy responses. And also climate science simply identifies the risks of climate change. Solutions and any policies are a response, and that doesn't mean that science itself is necessarily manipulated. Our fourth theme is that scientists are faking climate change to promote nuclear power. So some say that climate change is a pretext to phase out in fossil fuels in favor of nuclear energy. You guys might have seen in the news recently, and a lot more companies are turning to nuclear energy. And so these conspiracy theorists argue that renewable energy alone can't sustain global energy needs, and that climate concerns are exaggerated to make nuclear energy seem like the only viable solution. And so how are we going to debunk this? Climate change is real regardless of energy solutions, and that the existence of climate change is based on data, not a push for nuclear power. Also, there's no specific one solution like nuclear energy for climate change. Instead, it's a lot different, we're gonna have to require nuclear energy and the green agenda. And also, climate scientists don't benefit from promoting nuclear power. Instead, energy policies are determined by governments, like we went over before.
I also noticed that your guys' attention span was way better because we just put in that GTA video 20 minutes ago, because the previous 2 sessions, they were completely zoned out during that guy's part. Yeah, Mr. Butler.
I want to ask, in terms about they're pushing political agendas, what about the fact that big oil and coal corporations are paying off politicians to deny that climate change is real?
Well, yeah, like we said, science and policies are typically separate. So scientists are typically, they'll make their own research, they'll provide their own data independent of policymakers. And policymakers, with their decisions, they'll typically use that valuable information from scientists. Except we have seen like a lot of congressmen, lobbying and getting paid off. And that's just the unfortunate reality. And that's not really what our presentation's about. We're just trying to prove that science and policymaking is independent of each other.
Anyway, so better understand the position that these conspiracy theorists are coming from, we have to understand the concept of greenwashing. Basically, greenwashing is just like, it's when companies put like labels such as ecological or sustainable on their products without having any proof or anything to back it up that the product is actually sustainable or ecological, and they just put it on there so that customers will buy the green products and it's more expensive. And to better understand the concept, I'm going to play a video now.
Sustainable. Sustainable. Eco-conscious. Made from recycled materials. Companies are using phrases like these more and more frequently today. Sales of consumer packaged goods advertising sustainability in North America rose by over 30% in just 5 years, reaching an estimated $268.9 billion in 2022. And more than 60% of consumers say they pay more for a product with sustainable packaging. But underneath the flashy buzzwords, companies can fall short of their eco-friendly promises. Environmental activists say an ongoing legal battle with H&M might highlight a big company's alleged greenwashing. That's when companies mislead consumers with promises of being more eco-friendly than they actually are. In 2022, a class action lawsuit claimed that the clothing retailer's Conscious Choice collection advertised itself as sustainable, but it was actually not made from sustainable and environmentally friendly materials. The case is still ongoing, and H&M says it's taking these allegations very seriously, is looking into them thoroughly, and that its sustainability work has never been about greenwashing. Here's how a lack of transparency with consumers, long timelines, and weak environmental goals can all be signals of greenwashing. Greenwashing is when a company or organization uses misleading advertising to market itself as more environmentally friendly than it really is. Sustainable ESG funds, or investments that consider environmental, social, and corporate governance factors, have exploded over the past decade, exceeding $350 billion in net assets in 2021.
It's becoming increasingly profitable for companies to be seen as being beneficial to the environment. Consumers are increasingly demanding sustainable products. Investors want to invest in companies that have lower carbon footprints.
So why do people criticize greenwashing?
When you buy from a company that is engaging in greenwashing practices, you are encouraging that behavior to continue. Other companies will take note.
Some companies say their sustainability efforts are better than doing nothing. But critics would argue greenwashing involves weak goals, lack of transparency with consumers, and long timelines. Take one common corporate environmental promise: reducing carbon emissions. One way companies say they reduce their emissions is by purchasing carbon offsets. A carbon offset is an action or activity that balances the emission of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It's a buyable, sellable, and tradable commodity. In theory, when a company buys a carbon offset, it finances an action that removes greenhouse gas emissions from the air, like planting trees or building renewable energy projects. This is supposed to balance the overall amount of carbon dioxide a company puts into the atmosphere.
Carbon offsets and carbon credits have become an incredibly controversial mechanism in the fight against climate change, and activists and environmentalists claim, and our reporting shows, many of these projects are generating credits, too many credits, and not really reducing or removing emissions that companies are paying for.
Critics say carbon offset goals are weak and that companies aren't transparent with consumers about how they'll achieve them. While companies can claim they're putting money towards carbon offsets, the offset's environmental impact isn't always clear to consumers. Plus, activists say companies have decades-long timelines to reach their goals. A company can promise to achieve zero emissions by 2050, but if it doesn't have intermediary goals, it's unclear when it will actually start reducing emissions. And time is essential for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's because the United Nations Paris Agreement calls for global emissions to be reduced by 45% by 2030, in order to keep global temperatures from rising by no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. So who is policing greenwashing companies?
When a company does engage in greenwashing, the negative outcomes for them are quite limited. In the worst case, it might be a fine at this point.
In 2022, Goldman Sachs' asset management arm paid millions after violating SEC compliance rules with ESG fund marketing. Goldman neither admitted nor denied the SEC's allegations. But there's increased efforts by governments to start cracking down on greenwashing companies. In March, the European Union rolled out a series of proposals which would require companies to back up their products' environmental claims with scientific evidence. These claims would then need to be independently verified. This is part of a larger effort to make it easier for consumers to choose sustainable products. There are roughly 450 million people in the European Union. Regulations adopted there often lead to larger changes globally, since multinational companies prefer not to work with different sets of rules around the world. And there's movement in the US as well. The Federal Trade Commission is discussing rules that would regulate environmental marketing claims. It also wants to penalize companies for each time a product uses deceptive language. And the SEC is proposing new disclosure and naming requirements for ESG funds.
Okay, so how does all this tie back to the arguments of climate change conspiracists? Well, conspiracy theorists, basically, they look at these companies getting caught up by these greenwashing scams, and they say, wow, like, look at all these companies that are lying about being environmentally friendly, and this must prove that climate change is just a marketing scam to make us buy expensive green products. However, in reality, it's actually not true. Companies are only pretending to be green because they know that climate change is real and that we as a population care about it. They're not making up the problem, they're just lying about what they're doing to fix it. And it's actually the climate scientists and activists that are working to expose these companies when they lie, and those are the same people that are fighting it to stop climate change. So, yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break from this, and I'm gonna hand it off to Mr. Caboose.
Yeah, that's right. What's up, guys?
Come on, guys.
Yeah! Woo!
You guys need another video?
Yeah, you guys need another video? Come on! Alright, guys, okay, today we're gonna talk about notable climate change advocates. Alright? There's a lot of notable faces up here. Alright? Okay. Yeah, anyone you know? Anyone up here? Yeah. You know, that's good, that's good. That's right. Alright, so to start off, we got Billie Eilish right here. Yeah, it's kind of bad. She's actively promoted sustainability as an artist and has made eco-friendly choices with her merchandise and tours. In 2020, she collaborated with the Climate Strikes movement to reduce the environmental impacts of her tours. Yeah, it's really interesting. Right. Yeah, Greta Thunberg, everyone knows her. She's kind of my celebrity crush. Alright. Alright, she's a Swedish climate. She's gained recognition for her Fridays for Future School strike movement. She addressed the UN Climate Action Summit, that's probably where you know her from, which has made her a global symbol of youth activism. Also got Jimmy Carter there. He's also kind of bad. Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. Post-presidency, he helped promote solar energy during his time in office, installing solar panels at the White House. And he worked with Habitat for Humanity, which intersects with environmental concerns. All right. Okay, we got King Von. Yeah, shut down CO2 emissions. Okay, we got David Attenborough. Made documentaries such as Planet Earth. It's a really good documentary. It talks about nature's beauty and a lot of creatures on it. Beautiful. I love this earth. All right. Okay. What?
Did not watch it.
You did. I did what? I watched Blue Earth. That's something like that. About environmental issues such as climate change and deforestation. Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a spokesman for the UN climate change.
You don't know this.
Okay. Anyway, no, I just like him as an actor. Okay. Also, that he also has done a lot of activist work. All right. Yeah, so he's funded numerous projects aimed at addressing climate change. So have you guys seen Don't Look Up? It's about a movie. It's about an asteroid heading to Earth, and the whole movie is about he's a scientist. He's trying to get the government to help stop it, but like the government just refusing, and you know, they turn it into like a profit. They try to make profit out of it, and so I don't want to spoil the movie. Okay. So I'm not done. Whoa. Okay.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the effect of the internet on conspiracy theorists? Now, the internet is a double-edged sword because it can be used to spread facts, truth, but it can also be used to spread misinformation. Me when I spread misinformation online. So, the internet has had a negative effect on movements that try to tackle climate change. So algorithms on social media create echo chambers where users are exposed to content that aligns with their own beliefs, which reinforces climate change denial narratives. Oh yeah, by the way, this is David's slide, John's slide. I'm kind of reading it. So misinformation can be spread through bots as well. They exploit the algorithm and they try to reach as many people as possible. And the increased presence of social media in our lives, especially Instagram and TikTok, can be harmful to any climate change initiatives that are trying to fix the problem that humanity has created. So one of the examples David says is that he's always on Instagram Reels, and he sees Reels about chemtrails, which I'll get to later. And then when Instagram gives you the prompt whether you're interested in that content or not, he says he's not interested, but yeah, it still gives him reels that are like that. So he's just saying that like these reels can be funny, but when he looks at the comment section, all of the top comments are usually agreeing with the post, and he's just shocked by the amount of people who actually believe this misinformation. Usually just like old dudes from the Midwest who live on a farm. And from a study done by from a technology firm that used machine learning algorithms to scan posts on social media about climate change, 14% of the posts were challenges of mathematical models that link climate change to human activity, and 17% of the posts referenced the HARP, which I'll get to. It references that and says that that causes climate change, which is not true. So how do we fix this? Well, for one, we can increase our digital media literacy by increasing public awareness on how to easily spot misinformation and baseless facts. And people need to use critical thinking online because there's so much misinformation, and the internet provides anonymity and a lot of false facts. And people who lack social media literacy believe it. And another way we can combat this is to hold platforms accountable for more rigorous fact checking on what's being posted. Like for example, Instagram has a feature where it warns you if there's potential misinformation, but it's usually pretty faulty and doesn't actually hide true posts that include actual misinformation. All right, so we're gonna talk about some of the conspiracies now. Is climate change a government ploy? So the first theory are chemtrails. So let's look at this from a conspiracy theorist point of view. Planes fly around and they leave these weird trails in the sky. And it's very suspicious because they often like form grids or lines. Hey, bro, you're presenting.
Back up there.
All right. And these often look very suspicious because they just like stay there for a long time, and conspiracy theorists, they believe there's like harmful chemicals in there. All right, next slide. And then another picture surfaced online where high altitude airplanes have these tanks of liquids and gases inside, and conspiracy theorists, they believe that this is used to pump stuff into the atmosphere, change the weather, control our minds, etc. And finally, another reason why conspiracy theorists believe that planes cause climate change is the recent use of cloud seeding. And what cloud seeding is that planes, they fly at lower altitudes and they introduce condensation nuclei into clouds, therefore increasing rainfall and snowfall. However, it's actually not as effective as people think. It only increases rain or snowfall by about 5 to 15% under ideal conditions, and usually conditions are not ideal. And who uses it? Well, first of all, China used it in the 2008 Beijing Olympics to reduce rainfall before the events. The US and other countries use it in drought-prone areas. And then also, I'm sure you guys have seen on the news that Dubai has used it, like kind of cause people to worry about, oh, is this going to affect global climate change? Well, no, because it only affects local climate. It doesn't have an effect on global climate change. It cannot create hurricanes, droughts, or global warming effects as conspiracy theorists claim. Now, if you go 2 slides back, what are these clouds actually? Well, they're just clouds. Sorry, it's kind of boring. A lot of these planes fly super high up, and when it's higher up, it's cold. So condensation lasts for longer. That's why they last for, sometimes like 2-3 hours. There's no chemicals in there. And also in the second picture, there actually is a little truth with the US using chemicals in airplanes in the past. For example, during the Vietnam War, they used Agent Orange to kill all the crops and the plants in Vietnam. So sometimes, conspiracy theorists, they totally blew that out of proportion, and they think we are being brainwashed by the government. All right, yeah, chemtrails. So what are they used for? First of all, conspiracy theorists, they believe to control the weather. Second, to dumb down the population. Maybe that's why we're kind of, no, I'm kidding, that's not true. And then to spread diseases or to sterilize or depopulate certain groups. And the evidence they cite is that older planes didn't leave such contrails because they didn't fly as high. Some trails linger and spread while others disappear quickly. They linger because they're high up in the sky. And then also declassified government programs have showed that the military has experimented with weather control, but they did not succeed, and they did not continue with that. And as I mentioned earlier, HAARP, it stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. It's this research facility in Alaska, and what it does, it was originally funded by the U.S. Air Force and Navy, but they transferred ownership to the University of Alaska, Fairbanks. And it's a research facility that researches the ionosphere, the outermost layer of Earth's atmosphere. And how it works is it sends high frequency radio waves to heat small sections of the ionosphere to study how it affects radio communications. So in reality, it's a scientific tool for studying how the upper atmosphere interacts with solar radiation. But if you ask conspiracy theorists, they'll believe it's like to control our minds and control the weather and, global warming and everything. So they believe in weather manipulation. They believe it can control hurricanes, droughts, and even heat waves. For example, Hurricane Katrina in 2005, they thought it was HAARP. And also the California wildfires in 2018, they thought it was HAARP. They also believe that it can cause earthquakes, like the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. That is not true. It is nowhere near powerful enough. That's just stupid. I don't really know what else to say about that. And then they also believe it can control our minds by emitting low frequency waves that alter human thoughts. That's false. I literally just said it's high frequency waves that go into the upper atmosphere. And yeah, it also has this is kind of a stretch. Somebody over there said the Jews control everything. So a lot of
they said that there's a conspiracy.
Right, a conspiracy that Jews control everything.
Okay, we gotta be really careful.
Right, my fault. So, there's been ties to a quote-unquote new world order because of this thing. A lot of people believe that HAARP is connected with the government, and anything that's with the government is obviously bad, which is what conspiracy theorists say, not me. This has actually led to an excuse for anti-Semitism, where people blame the Rothschild family. For example, a politician, I can't remember his name, he was a Republican congressman back in 2010. He said that the Jews control the weather, but it's not true.
All right, so everyone wants a 2-minute clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's going to talk about how cherry picking climate science is harmful and also you know, there's better ways to go about learning.
You guys look really bored, so we're not gonna do the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So Neil, you're not a climate scientist, but you're a very distinguished scientist and astrophysicist. What do you think about when people say, look, this is not settled science, there are still questions? I sometimes think to myself, look, there are a lot of questions still about Einstein's theories that led to nuclear fission, but we still know that nuclear power plants do operate and they do provide electricity.
Yeah, so what's happening here is there are people who have cultural, political, religious, economic philosophies that they then invoke when they want to cherry pick one scientific result or another. You can find a scientific paper that says practically anything. And the press, which I count you as part of, the press will sometimes find a single paper and say, oh, here's a new truth. If this study holds it, but an emergent scientific truth, for it to become an objective truth, a truth that is true whether or not you believe in it, it requires more than one scientific paper. It requires a whole system of people's research, all leaning in the same direction, all pointing to the same consequences. That's what we have with climate change as induced by human conduct. This is a known correspondence. If you want to find the 3% of the papers or the 1% of the papers that conflicted with this and build policy on that, that is simply irresponsible. And how else do you establish a scientific truth if not by looking at the consensus of scientific experiments and scientific observations? Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president, signed into law in 1963, a year when he had important things to be thinking about. He signed into law the National Academy of Sciences because he knew that science mattered and should matter in governance.
Alright, that's all for now.
Alright, okay. How do conspiracy theories affect movements? Alright, so conspiracy theories contaminate the legitimacy of any movement as a whole, which makes it seem less credible. Like this guy right here, Alex Jones. He famously said, water's turning the frogs gay. That, I mean...
You can decide for yourself if it's true or not.
Okay, yeah. Okay, anyway. Instead of focusing on practical or policy-driven change, the movement might become overly absorbed in debunking or spreading a particular theory. So, like, that's if, the Jews control the weather. People just get so obsessed with that, they don't, look at the actual facts of it, and they just, they completely buy into this, false reality that's going on. And it can completely damage movements and make it hard for others to take it seriously. Alright, and then here's a quote from my mother this morning. Chemtrails are interfering with our ability to receive energy and sending upgrades from the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, from Mrs. Caruso.
From Mrs. Caruso herself. That was this morning. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
She sent him that message this morning.
Yeah, on my phone.
iMessage.
On iMessage.
Isn't that crazy?
That's absolutely, yeah. It's a real issue in this country. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your attention, guys. Well, I hope you guys are paying attention. We're gonna have a little game kit, and whoever wins gets a little treat.
Use our cellular device.
Oh, Mr. Butler cannot participate because he
I know. You won last time. I was good at.
Wait, that's crazy.
What?
That your people, they do that.
I already have won the last one.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you get that power?
My dad. Yeah. I was born into a bedroom. I mean, we did the same thing in my class. And we started it. We were the first period.
Tough. I know, I saw you walking away with
Oh, yeah. I was literally me and Caleb went the first to it.
honestly, when they said cut the tail off, just cut his tail off.
Guys, do you have any preferences for what game you want to play?
The climate change one.
There is no climate change.
What game kids?
Oh, the math one, the math one.
I was gonna do the money one.
The money one, the money one, the money one.
Mr. Butler, can you please sit down?
Who helps you?
Mr. Butler, can you please take a seat? Thank you, Mr. Butler.
It's discrimination.
Yeah, don't get violent, Mr. Butler.
Did
Why do you stand up, Mom, if you're one of the presenters, huh? Why don't you make your presence known?
I've been standing for too long. My legs are tired.
I was trying to sit down.
Is there a plug point somewhere? Plug point. Mono, switch
Alright,
with
if you
me.
guys don't have services, you can
I need to
use your
charge
phone.
my computer. Switch with me.
No, don't do it.
You actually? Yeah.
Oh,
It's
nah.
on 6% because I left it.
Then you get off your phone, Mr. Butler.
By the way, you need to like use your legs to support this.
We'll send you the Mr. Miller.
Where did you build that?
Gimkit.com.
I expect to see 18 people.
Oh no, it's Harpoon. Wait, where did you build that? Oh, you guys actually.
Let's go. This is the best part, bro.
Alright, 10 more people. Come on, guys.
Really? Wow, this is the best part. You have to finish coloring this entire thing before the.
Who joined as Gavin Butler?
Sorry.
Mr. Butler with 2 T's.
Oh, he's definitely doing this. He's definitely doing this right now. Hey, boss. Alright, come on, guys. 5 more people.
Do we get everyone?
Alright, 4 more people.
Wait, is this?
There's some
Wait,
people
oh, there's
on
an
the
error.
bathroom.
There's an error. Sorry. Wait, hold
There's
on.
some people on the bathroom.
What? There's been an error.
Where's
You
You can start it now.
Alright, that's good. That's good.
Are the rest of them in the bathroom?
Purchase upgrade.
All pack.
Yo.
All pack, hurry up. All waiting on you, go.